It's only natural to be cautious when we talk about things we cannot see or touch. For many, the worlds of sleep and death belong to the realm of mystery, perhaps even fantasy. Some might say that focusing on such invisible realms is impractical, a distraction from the very real challenges and joys of our waking lives. They might ask, why spend our time on what we can't prove in a laboratory? Why dwell on the darkness when there is so much light to see right here, right now? These are valid concerns, born from a desire to stay grounded and make the most of the world we know. This perspective respects the tangible, the measurable, and the solid foundations upon which we build our daily existence. However, what if these hidden parts of our lives are not just empty spaces? What if sleep is more than just a biological reset, and death more than just an ending? We are explorers by nature. Humanity has always pushed the boundaries of its knowledge, venturing into the deepest oceans and the farthest reaches of space. We are driven by a profound curiosity to understand the whole picture, not just the pieces we can easily hold in our hands. To ignore the 1/3 of our lives we spend asleep, or to turn away from the one event that awaits us all, is to leave a significant part of the human story unread. It is a journey into the unknown, and every great journey begins with a single, courageous question. This exploration is not about abandoning reason or practicality. Instead, it is about expanding our understanding of what it means to be fully human. Imagine you are reading a magnificent book. Would you be satisfied with reading only the chapters that take place during the day, skipping all the scenes that happen at night? Of course not. You would feel that you were missing a crucial part of the narrative, a part that gives depth and meaning to the characters and their actions. In the same way, understanding the hidden rhythms of sleep and death can provide a deeper context for our waking lives, making our experiences richer and our connections to the world more profound. So let us embark on this journey not with fear, but with an open mind and a spirit of discovery. We seek to understand these fundamental processes, not to escape from life, but to engage with it more completely. This is not a path away from reality, it is a path into a larger reality, one that encompasses the visible and the invisible, the day and the night, the beginning and the end. By looking into these mysteries, we may find that they are not so dark after all. Instead, we might discover that they hold the keys to living with greater wisdom, strength, and a deeper appreciation for the incredible gift of life itself. We often think of sleep as a kind of shutdown, a temporary pause in our real lives. We talk about needing to recharge our batteries, as if we were simple machines that run out of power. But what if sleep is something more active, more purposeful? What if it is a necessary journey our consciousness takes every night to a place of profound healing and renewal? Life in the physical world is demanding. It wears us down not just physically but spiritually. Our thoughts, our emotions, and our daily struggles create a kind of spiritual exhaustion. Sleep is nature's brilliant solution, a built-in process that doesn't just rest the body, but restores the very essence of who we are. This idea of renewal becomes even more profound when we consider the role of death. In our modern world, death is often seen as the ultimate failure, a tragic end to be avoided at all costs. We fight it, we fear it, and we often refuse to even speak its name. But what if death, like sleep, is not an end but a transition? What if it is a fundamental part of a much larger cycle of existence? Just as a seed must break apart in the earth to release the new plant, perhaps our physical life must conclude to allow for a new phase of being to begin. It is not an annihilation, but a transformation, a return to a spiritual source from which we can draw new strength for future journeys. Consider the life of a tree throughout the year. In the spring and summer it is full of vibrant life, reaching out to the sun, producing leaves, flowers and fruit. But in the autumn and winter, it appears to retreat. It sheds its leaves and stands bare against the cold sky. Is the tree dying? No, it is gathering its forces, resting and preparing for the next cycle of growth. Sleep is like our nightly winter, a time of inner consolidation. Death can be seen as a much longer, more profound winter, a period of deep spiritual renewal before a new springtime of existence can dawn. It is not an escape from life, but an essential part of its ever-repeating magnificent rhythm. By viewing sleep and death in this light, as processes of renewal, we shift our relationship with them. They cease to be fearsome voids and become our allies. We can learn to welcome sleep, not just as a rest for our tired bodies, but as a healing balm for our souls. And we can begin to approach the thought of death, not with terror, but with a sense of reverence and curiosity for the great cosmic cycles of which we are an inseparable part. This change in perspective doesn't make us less engaged with life. It makes us more resilient, more peaceful, and more connected to the deep underlying currents that support and sustain all of existence. To understand what happens when we close our eyes at night, it helps to think of ourselves as being more than just our physical bodies. Imagine we are composed of several layers, each with a different job. First, there is the physical body, the dense material part we can see and touch. It's our anchor in the world. But animating this body is a second invisible layer, sometimes called the etheric body or life body. This is the energy field that keeps us alive, that manages our growth, our healing, and all the automatic processes we don't think about. It's the architect that builds and repairs our physical form, the vital force that distinguishes a living person from a mere collection of chemicals. When we're awake, these two bodies are completely interwoven. But when we fall asleep, something remarkable happens. Two other parts of us, which are more connected to our consciousness, actually separate from our physical and etheric bodies. The first of these is the astral body, which is the carrier of our feelings, our emotions, our desires, and our passions. It's the part of us that feels joy, sadness, love, and anger. The second is our innermost core, our unique self-awareness, which we can call the I or the ego. This is the spiritual spark that says I am, the part of us that can think, reason, and make choices. It is the pilot of our soul, so every night, when we drift into deep, dreamless sleep, our astral body and our I leave the physical and etheric bodies behind. The two lower bodies remain in the bed, like a plant quietly resting. This is why sleep is so restorative. The physical and etheric bodies are finally free from the constant activity of our emotions and conscious thoughts. The etheric body can then get to work, repairing the day's wear and tear without interruption. It rebuilds our organs, balances our hormones, and recharges our vital energy. It is a nightly dip into the pure fountain of life, a process of deep unconscious healing that is essential for our well-being. Meanwhile, our astral body and I journey into a spiritual realm, a world of pure consciousness that is free from the limitations of the physical senses. In this state, our soul is bathed in a world of cosmic harmony and wisdom, cleansing it of the stress and discord of earthly life. We don't remember this experience consciously, just as we don't remember the processes of digestion or cell repair. But we feel its effects when we wake up. That feeling of being refreshed, of having a new lease on life, is the result of this nightly renewal. Our soul has been restored, and it returns to the body ready to face a new day. Sleep gives us a small preview of death every single night. But there is one crucial difference. In sleep, as we have seen, the astral body and the I separate from the physical and etheric bodies. However, the etheric body, our life body, remains firmly connected to the physical body, maintaining its life functions. This connection is like a strong, elastic silver cord that ensures our soul can always find its way back to its physical home in the morning. No matter how far our consciousness travels in the spiritual world during sleep, that link remains unbroken, guaranteeing our return to waking life. At the moment of death, this process changes in one fundamental way. The silver cord breaks. The connection between the etheric life body and the physical body is permanently severed. This is the definitive point of no return. Once the etheric body separates, the physical body can no longer be sustained. It is now just a collection of material substances, and it begins to follow the laws of the mineral world, which means it will decay and return to the earth. The life-giving force, the invisible architect, has departed, and the house it once inhabited is now empty. This is the great and final separation that distinguishes death from even the deepest sleep. After this separation, something else remarkable occurs. For a short period, the I and the astral body remain connected to the etheric body, which has just been released from its physical anchor. During this time, the etheric body, which has stored the memory of our entire life, unspools this memory like a vast panoramic film. This is the origin of the well-known life review reported in near-death experiences. For a few days, the soul experiences its entire biography in vivid detail, not as a judgment, but as a pure experience of what has been. It is a final comprehensive look at the life that has just concluded, a grand summary of the journey. Once this life review is complete, the etheric body itself dissolves, releasing our true spiritual core, the I and the astral body, to continue their journey into the spiritual world. This is a journey we cannot consciously remember from our nightly sleep, but it is one that our soul undertakes in full awareness after death. Unlike sleep, which is a temporary visit for renewal, death is a true homecoming, a longer and more profound immersion in the spiritual realms from which we originated. Sleep is a rehearsal for this journey, a nightly practice that prepares us for the ultimate and most significant transition of our existence. Our nightly experience is not, uniform. It moves through different states of consciousness. We can actually compare these states to different ways of experiencing a house. Our waking life is like being wide awake and fully engaged inside the house. We can see the furniture, touch the walls, and interact with everything around us using our 5 senses. Our thoughts are clear and directed. We are fully present in the physical world, just as you are fully present reading these words now. We are firmly in control, making conscious decisions about what to do and where to go within this familiar space. Then there is the world of dreams. Dreaming is kind of like wandering through the house at night in a dim, flickering light. The shapes are familiar, but they are also strange and distorted. A chair might turn into an animal, or a door might open into an impossible landscape. In dreams, our I and astral body are beginning to re-enter our physical and etheric bodies, but the connection is still loose. The logic of the waking world just doesn't apply. Our experiences are driven by the symbolic language of our astral body, our hopes, fears, and unresolved emotions. Dreams are the bridge between the spiritual world and the physical, a chaotic but meaningful reflection of our inner state. Beyond dreaming lies the state of deep, dreamless sleep. This is like leaving the house entirely. As we discussed, our I and astral body have journeyed into a purely spiritual realm, a space of complete renewal. We have no sensory experience of this state because the organs for perceiving it, our physical senses, are left behind with our resting body. This is why it appears to us as a blank and unconscious void. But it is not empty, it is simply a reality for which we have no waking memory. It's like visiting a foreign country without a camera. You were there, you experienced it, and it changed you. But you have no pictures to show for it upon your return. These 3 states, waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, form a complete cycle of consciousness. Waking life is our interaction with the outer physical world. Dreaming is our interaction with the inner world of our soul, expressed in symbols. And deep sleep is our immersion in the universal spirit, a world of pure being that restores us at our very core. Each state is honestly essential. We need waking life to act and learn, we need dreams to process our experiences, and we need deep sleep to heal and reconnect with our spiritual source. Understanding these different levels of our own consciousness is the first step to understanding the larger mysteries of life and death. Some might argue that focusing on invisible worlds makes us less effective in the real world. They might believe that it leads to daydreaming and a disconnect from our practical responsibilities. However, the opposite is often true. Gaining insight into the hidden aspects of our existence can make us more creative, more perceptive, and more alive in our daily activities. Think of a master musician. They don't just play the notes written on the page. They understand the silence between the notes, the harmony, the emotional current that flows unseen through the music. This deeper understanding is what transforms a technical performance into a breathtaking work of art. Knowledge of the supersensible, of what lies beyond our senses, acts in a similar way. When we understand that our nightly sleep is a journey of spiritual renewal, we begin to approach our waking life with a different kind of energy. We realize that our creativity, our intuition, and our aha moments often bubble up from this deep, unconscious wellspring. The artist who wakes with a new vision, the scientist who dreams of a solution to a problem, or the leader who has a sudden insight into a complex situation. These are all drawing from the wisdom gathered during their soul's nightly sojourn. This knowledge doesn't pull us out of the world. It allows us to bring more of the world into our actions. This deeper understanding also enriches our relationships. When we see another person, we no longer see just a physical body. We can learn to perceive the unique spiritual being, the eye that shines through them. We can understand that their moods and emotions carried by their astral body are just one part of who they are. This allows for greater empathy and compassion. We can see beyond someone's difficult behavior on a particular day and recognize the enduring spirit within. It helps us to forgive more easily and to connect with others on a much more meaningful level, recognizing that we are all spiritual beings on a shared human journey. Ultimately, this hidden knowledge illuminates the visible world. It's like having a map that shows not only the roads, but also the underground rivers that feed the landscape. Knowing about these hidden sources helps us understand why the trees grow taller in one valley than another. Similarly, understanding the spiritual forces at play in our lives helps us make sense of our experiences, our challenges, and our triumphs. It doesn't make life less real. It makes it more real, more purposeful, and infinitely more interesting. It grounds us in a larger reality, making us more, not less, capable of living a full and practical life. In our quest for understanding, we often encounter what seems like a great conflict between science and spirituality. Science, with its powerful tools of measurement and observation, focuses on the how. It can tell us how neurons fire in the brain during sleep, how cells break down after death, and how chemical processes create the energy we use to live. It is like the brilliant architect and engineer of a house, who can provide a perfect blueprint, calculate the load-bearing capacity of the walls, and explain the physics of the heating and electrical systems. This knowledge is essential, precise, and incredibly valuable. Spiritual insight, on the other hand, is concerned with the why. It asks questions that measurement cannot answer. Why are we here? What is the purpose of a human life? What meaning can be found in our experiences of love, sorrow, and aspiration? This is like understanding the purpose of the house. Is it a home for a family, a place of learning, a sanctuary for healing? The blueprint can't tell you this. This knowledge comes from the inhabitants, from their intentions and their experiences within the structure. It gives meaning and context to the physical building. These two approaches are not in conflict. They are complementary. They are two different but equally valid ways of looking at the same reality. To build a complete and functional house, you need both the engineer's blueprint and a vision for its purpose. The blueprint without a purpose is just a technical drawing, and the vision without a solid structure is just a dream. In the same way, a purely materialist view of life can feel empty and meaningless, while a spiritual view without a grounding in reality can become unmoored and impractical. We need both to have a complete picture of what it means to be human. Therefore, we can honor the findings of modern science while also exploring the insights of spiritual wisdom. Science can describe the physical machinery of sleep and death with incredible accuracy. Spiritual science can illuminate the journey of the consciousness that inhabits that machinery. One describes the vessel, the other describes the passenger and the destination. By holding both perspectives, we build a bridge between the visible and the invisible. We create a more holistic understanding that respects the body and honors the soul, allowing us to navigate our lives with the wisdom of the engineer and the heart of the poet. Stories from those who have stood at the threshold of death offer us a powerful illustration of these ideas. Many people who have had a near-death experience, or NDE, report a profound and transformative event, the life review. They describe seeing their entire life flash before their eyes, not as a chaotic jumble of memories, but as a coherent panoramic tapestry. Every action, every word, every thought and its effect on others is experienced in an instant. This is not a dream or a hallucination caused by a lack of oxygen. The clarity and structure of these experiences suggests something far more significant is taking place. This phenomenon aligns perfectly with the idea of the etheric body separating from the physical body at the moment of death. The etheric body is the keeper of our life's memory, not in the way a computer stores data, but as a living, vibrant record of our experiences. When it is released from the physical form, this record becomes accessible to our consciousness, our I, in its entirety. The person in the midst of this experience is not just remembering their life, they are reliving it from a higher perspective, understanding the causal chains and moral weight of their choices in a way that was impossible during their earthly existence. One man, after a severe heart attack, spoke of seeing a moment from his childhood when he had cruelly teased another boy. In his life review, he didn't just see his own actions. He felt the shame and pain he had inflicted on the other child, as if it were his own. He also felt the joy he had brought to others through small acts of kindness he had long forgotten. This was not a judgment from an external being, but a direct, unvarnished experience of the reality of his own life. It was a moment of profound self-realization, a final accounting that was both deeply personal and universally moral. These testimonies provide a glimpse into the mechanics of the transition we call death. They suggest that our lives are meticulously recorded and that we are ultimately accountable to ourselves for the life we have created. This panoramic review is not a punishment, but a profound educational experience. It is the final lesson of one lifetime, providing the wisdom and insight that the soul will carry with it on its continuing journey. It shows us that every moment of our lives matters, that every thought and deed is woven into the permanent fabric of our being, a fabric we will one day behold in its totality. To contemplate sleep and death is not a morbid fascination. It is an act of profound courage and wisdom. It is a way of embracing the entirety of our human experience, not just the parts that are brightly lit and easy to understand. By turning our attention to these mysteries, we do not become weaker or less practical. On the contrary, we become stronger, more resilient, and more deeply rooted in the truth of our existence. We learn that life is not a brief flicker between two voids, but a meaningful journey that extends beyond the visible world and is supported by powerful, benevolent cosmic rhythms. Understanding that sleep is a time of spiritual renewal changes how we live our days. We can learn to value our rest not as lost time, but as sacred time for healing and reconnection. This knowledge gives us a deeper well of strength to draw from, making us more creative, intuitive, and compassionate in our waking hours. Similarly, understanding death as a transition rather than an end removes the paralyzing fear that so often casts a shadow over life. It allows us to live more freely, more bravely, and with a greater appreciation for the precious gift of every single day we are given in this physical world. This journey beyond the senses teaches us that the invisible world is not separate from our own. It is the foundation upon which our visible world is built. Just as the health of a tree's hidden roots determines the beauty of its visible branches and leaves, the health of our connection to our spiritual source determines the quality of our earthly life. By nurturing this connection through a conscious understanding of sleep and death, we cultivate a deeper sense of purpose, a stronger moral compass, and a more profound connection to the universe and everyone in it. Ultimately, this exploration is a journey back to ourselves. It is about discovering the full scope of who we are, not just physical beings destined to disappear, but spiritual beings engaged in a grand cycle of becoming. By unlocking the mysteries of sleep and death, we unlock the deepest potentials within ourselves. We learn to live not in fear of the end, but in reverence for the whole journey. And in doing so, we find that the path to living well is illuminated by the very shadows we once feared to explore. We find life in all its fullness by embracing the whole of it.